Worse now.
Jessica Foster there, reporting from the Guided Busway at the Histon and Impington spot. Now, Edward Lee is from this group, Smarter Cambridge Transport, who are publishing their report today. Edward, good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you for joining us. People in Histon there, broadly very positive about the Guided Busway. Can you really suggest scrapping it?
Well, it is an asset to the county, but the repairs are going to require it to be closed for quite long periods of time. And that will also mean closing the maintenance track, which is used as a cycleway. So it will be hugely disruptive. But it's really, does it have the 40-year life that it was designed for? And if it doesn't, then does it make sense to keep repairing it and spending what will probably end up being public money to do so?
So the County Council, they already know that there are problems on the Guided Busway. They commissioned this report, which came out last November, which showed that there are lots of faults on it. What's new about what you're saying today?
Well, really, those reports, they explicitly stated that they hadn't got to the root of all of the problems. So some of the cracking of the beams they hadn't really investigated, and nor had they really investigated that bumpy, bunny hop ride that some of those people were talking about. And once you start thinking through what the possible explanations for those are, you really are led to the conclusion that there's a design flaw, a fundamental design flaw, which can't be fixed simply by repairing it.
And what's at the centre of your worries on this? Is it the cost of repairs or is it safety? Because I've read through your report and you do mention the possibility of catastrophic failure on the busway.
Indeed. I mean, it's both. I mean, even if the council wins the costs for this round of repairs, which is not in any way guaranteed, there could be more tens of millions of pounds again and again and again. So that's a big concern, but safety is also a big concern because the fact that the tracks can move, the fact that they are disintegrating at the ends of the beams, it's not difficult to see a scenario in which a bus comes off at speed, and we've seen them leave the busway where buses haven't entered correctly lined up with the busway, and there's been three instances in the last 14 months. So, if one of those happened when the bus is going along at 55 miles an hour, if it was a double-decker bus, the consequences could be really pretty awful.
But all of those crashes that you mentioned, and there have been 3 in 14 months, they've been put down to driver error. These were buses that were speeding.
Well, it's probably they were all speeding. But the point is that if something happens to the bus, if those little guide wheels break or one of those breaks off, as happened in those incidents, the bus suddenly, the driver completely loses control of the bus. So if that happened because of a crack that had some break-up in the beam, or simply fatigue in those little guide wheel brackets, the consequences could be pretty awful, and it's very difficult to predict when that might happen.
So there are calls in your report to consider scrapping the Guided Busway and replacing it with either just a tarmac road or a light railway. Do you think those options would be better?
Almost certainly yes, because the maintenance cost would be a known quantity. I mean, we can build roads, we can build light rail, and to a high standard. The design of this busway is unique. I mean, it was the first of that particular style of construction, and we're sort of learning the hard way that actually there were corners cut and possibly compromises made in the design, and that's now costing us.
And bearing in mind that this was the first guided busway in this country, certainly, could these problems have been foreseen?
Possibly. I mean, the difficulty is whenever you design something new, there's always the possibility there will be unanticipated consequences, and there have been with this. Previous busways, for instance, in Essen in Germany and Adelaide in Australia, were constructed in a different way, and there's one in Japan where the upstands that guide the bus are made of steel. So the fact that we chose to make it out of concrete, we chose long spans between the foundations, probably could have been predicted as that it would lead to the sort of failures that we're seeing now.
Okay, Edward, thank you. Edward Lee there from Smarter Cambridge Transport. They're an independent group We also have a statement from the County Council. They say, we've agreed to proceed with legal action against BAM Nuttall in respect of defects in the design and construction of the guided busway, so it would be inappropriate to comment. We can confirm we have received a copy of the report produced by the Smarter Cambridge Transport team and do not consider it raises any new issues that need to be considered as part of our claim.